Hey guys, and welcome back to the ASX Investor Channel, and welcome to another CEO interview. Today we'll be unpacking the story of KMD Brands. They are formerly known as Kathmandu. You might be familiar with the iconic brand of Kathmandu, but they've got a much broader group now that's containing Kathmandu, Oboz shoes, as well as Rip Curl, and really moving towards becoming a leading outdoor retailer globally. It's a fascinating story. We're looking forward to talking about the rebrand, of course, the transition into this leading global brand, and some of the recent results from the first half of FY22. We're joined by Michael Daly, the CEO of KMD Brands. It's an exciting story. Michael, welcome to the channel.
Yes, thank you. Happy to be here.
I guess before we unpack all of the recent news flow and catalysts, there's been plenty of interesting tidbits to discuss. It'd be great to have that overview. Who is KMD Brands? You're obviously fresh off this launch, and what are the different components underneath the parent brand?
Yeah, so KMD Brands is our new name, and we're excited by the new name to really showcase what we're about as we move forward. And certainly as we move forward, we see ourselves very much as a multi-brand, multi-geography, multi-channel operator and owner of brands. And we've got a very clear purpose as we move forward for KMD Brands, and that's really inspiring people to explore and love the outdoors. So the brands that we own are unashamedly really targeting at that active outdoor consumer and encouraging that consumer to enjoy the outdoors. And we certainly think each of our brands at the moment, with Rip Curl, with its appeal to surfers and beachgoers, Kathmandu with its appeal to broader outdoor enthusiasts, and Oboz in its appeal to the hiking consumer, really hit and embrace that overall, I guess, purpose of KMD Brands.
For sure. And of course, as we're all familiar with over the past few years, there's been a difficult and really fascinating macroeconomic environment to navigate. I'm sure KMD Brands has definitely had to navigate that in their own right, whether we're talking about rising inflation, whether we're discussing, of course, the lockdowns, which have affected the retail stores. I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on how that's played out and any changes that that's resulted to in terms of the business and some transitions.
Yeah, it's been a challenging time for management of all companies, to be honest, with the pandemic, and certainly at KMD Brands, we haven't been immune to some of those challenges. On the positive, and our first half was certainly very negatively impacted by lockdowns in particular, given the concentration of stores that we have for particularly the Kathmandu brand in Australia and New Zealand, and the lockdowns we saw in those territories. But despite that, there's definitely some key highlights that we saw through that first half, inclusive of, when we did come out of lockdowns in Australia and New Zealand, Kathmandu saw a really good bounce on its sales. Not a full recovery to pre-pandemic levels, but certainly a good bounce back. Rip Curl has continued its strong momentum that's seen right through the pandemic. The demand for Rip Curl products appears to be very strong across all our key territories and our key channels, and Rip Curl was able to defend some significant positive comps from the first half of last year. And Oboz has definitely been probably the brand most impacted by us in the short term, just on the back of some closures in Vietnam of factories that we saw for a good 3 months through that first half. That's impacted our ability to get shoes into the market and to our consumers. So certainly a disappointing result for Oboz, but really on the back of those lockdowns that we saw. And yeah, look, at really challenging times, we're seeing some inflationary pressures, but our brands are well placed to, if we need to pass on price rises, we will, to maintain our margins. But that's very much an action of last resort. There's many other levers we can use to make sure that we can maintain our margins without increasing prices.
I think something else that was interesting, of course, we've seen this compelling switch towards online, and we saw some really strong numbers out of your first half report as well for the online consumer. Was getting interested to hear some insights into some of that investment that you've made into the space and how are you positioning it? Because of course, many of your brands still have that really strong retail presence as well.
Yeah, look, as I started with, we really see it as our multi-channel operator. Wholesale is a big component of our business, as is retail. And e-commerce, as you say, very positive trends we're seeing in our e-com distribution, much like many other brands. We saw really good, strong growth with Kathmandu, with sort of 46% growth. Rip Curl a little bit more sedate, but that's more on the back of some supply issues with have some wetsuits. But elevating our digital experience and capabilities is a key growth strategy for KMD Brands. And we're investing heavily on updating all of our platforms across all of our brands, using the same platforms, leveraging our purchasing power across those platforms to really drive efficiencies. And most importantly, really look to engage with the consumer more regularly and drive increased frequency. And we really feel that doing that through enhanced loyalty. Rip Curl will launch its first loyalty program in this year, and Kathmandu will relaunch its Summer Club. And we really feel through activities like that and upgrading our platforms, we can continue to see really strong momentum in our e-commerce sales in all our territories across all our brands as we move forward.
And it's quite a large vision as well to become that leading outdoor retailer. I'd love to hear some thoughts. It's quite fascinating when you look at the different components, how are they synergized together? Very complementary in terms of you've got the winter and the summer now, obviously some additional geographical diversification around the world. Love just to hear how you're thinking about it at that group level and bringing those pieces together to become that global retailer.
Yeah, so our very clear vision is not so much to be a global retailer, but really be the leading family of global outdoor brands. And so outdoor is really important to us. And we're really about brand management at KMD Brands. Retail is just one avenue to market. There's three key principles that we really see as the foundation of our vision for our brands. And that's that our brands being designed for a purpose, driven by innovation, and best for people and planet. So by that, we mean we expect our products to be used in the outdoors. So we design our products specifically to be used in the outdoors, durable, functional for those people, whether they're hiking, exploring the mountains, or actually in the water, surfing. Equally, driven by innovation, we want our goods and our products to be the very best for the outdoors and the very, very best for the people that are using those products. So having that innovative product, new differentiated products, really important to us. And finally, best for people and planet. Sustainability has been in the DNA of Kathmandu brand for a long time. And that certainly, I guess, was crowned with their B Corp status that was given a couple of years ago. We're looking to extend that across our other brands. But more broadly, as a group, we really want to be a leader in ESG. It's one of our key 4 principles. And we think that through expanding our B Corp accreditation across all our brands, but then going to that next level of setting some very clear targets and holding ourselves accountable and being transparent around those targets, not only in science-based climate action targets, but broader diversity, inclusion, and other targets around our communities and people that we operate in, and also our circularity principles for our product. We think that's really important to our broader strategy in that space. So yeah, we're excited by the vision for KMD Brands and looking forward to executing those visions in the coming years.
Yeah, really interesting. It'll be fascinating to see the B Corp. If it does extend across the other brands, we know how critical sustainability and ESG is into the discussion nowadays. I'd love to ask you as well, as the leader of the company, obviously there's so much going on. There's a lot of different moving parts, but at a share price level, we know that KMD brand is still around 50% off the peaks that had come before 2020. I'd love just to know any thoughts and reflections that you have on that and what you're really looking forward to over this upcoming period.
Yeah, look, we think that our brands are really well placed as we move forward, as we see unrestricted trade. The Kathmandu brand hasn't been able to trade a full peak winter since 2009. So we really think that with Kathmandu being able to trade that unrestricted winter, plus with the return of travel, which we think will benefit all of our brands given how they're placed at that sort of adventurous outdoor consumer. We think that really will translate into much better sales and more normal return to sales and profitability for our company. And with that, we think strongly that cash flow will improve, of course, and our overall share price will, I guess, reflect the better trading conditions when we see that return to our ability to trade a full unrestricted winter for Kathmandu in particular.
Yeah, I can only imagine how difficult it would have been navigating the lockdowns and just that uncertain environment. I guess for those longer term shareholders who have been following the KMD story for a while, or for those prospective shareholders who may now just be learning about KMD brands, did you have any final reflections and key catalysts that they should be looking forward to over this upcoming period?
Yeah, look, I think certainly we're excited by that ability to trade that unrestricted winter. But as I mentioned earlier, we've got some 4 key real pillars to our growth. We want to build global brands. We're launching Kathmandu in new markets, Europe and Canada, as we speak. So we're certainly excited by the opportunities. I've talked about elevating our digital capabilities and experience, which we think is going to drive that frequency of consumer, which is really important. We haven't talked about it much, but operational excellence is another key pillar of our strategy. We want our brands to come together, particularly where it makes sense for them to come together on the back end to really drive efficiencies. And we think those efficiencies will exist not only in sales growth, but certainly margin enhancement and expense reductions. And finally, that lead ESG principle. We want to be a true leader in ESG across Australia and New Zealand, and with time, obviously the world. So yeah, we think with those 4 key growth pillars, KMD Brands is very well placed for the future, whatever challenges are given to us by the pandemic, inflation, or anything else.
That is the KMD brand story, formerly known as Kathmandu. It's listed both on the NZX as well as the ASX under KMD. If you've enjoyed the interview, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out. We make a daily video each and every day. So make sure you've subscribed and turned your bell notifications on. Michael Daly, it was a pleasure to catch up. Really enjoyed that and looking forward to seeing where KMD Brands heads from here.
No problems at all. Thank you very much.